Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Have to go to Ashland today, so I thought I'd stop along the route, Route 33, west, east, and check out some historic sites. So I'm stopped at the top of, the Blue Ridge, where Shenandoah National Park is, and Swift Run Gap. And I know I've stopped here before, but I learned something, and I thought I'd see if what I learned is also on the thing back here. So we'll check it out. So this is the historic marker for the Knights of the Golden Horseshoe, which was an expedition led by Governor Alexander Spotswood in 1716. They rode west following the Rappahannock, ended up following Swift Run, somehow ended up on top of the mountain here. Eventually they continued west, going past the present-day town of Elkton and stopping along the banks of the Shenandoah, which they called the Euphrates. Somewhere along the banks they buried a bottle with a land claim in it. So that's what the Knights of the Golden Horseshoe are. Here's the two monuments that stand here at the top of Swift Run. Yeah, and sure enough, what I wanted to see is here. This James Taylor, that is James Taylor is the great-grandfather of both Zachary Taylor and James Madison. Pretty cool. Oh, I don't think I've ever noticed that before. Discovers? Oh, sure. He discovered it. Right. And then, of course, here's the Rockingham County marker. Just across Route 33 is the gatehouse for Shenandoah National Park. And that's the entrance road there. And of course that bridge is Skyline Drive. Just east of Swift Run along Route 33 in Orange County is Barboursville and the Barboursville Vineyards. And if you come to the vineyards, you can take this short little trail to the ruins. These are the ruins of the house designed by Thomas Jefferson and built in 1814 for Governor Barbour. I don't know his first name. It burned to the ground. Well, I can't say it burned to the ground because look, you can see it. It was destroyed in 1884. So it had about a 70-year life before it caught fire Christmas Day, 1884. And burned. Pretty cool. Pretty sure you could walk closer back in the day, but it seems like now this is about as far as they want you to walk. Oh, does anybody know what this is? It's a black walnut. For used, people would squeeze the juice out of these things and use it to stain their floors or dye their hair. Plus walnuts are yummy. So, well, it looks like can't walk back there. Still pretty cool. There's fireplaces there. This is where the staircase was. All types of history just lurking around the corners. You can just see it if you just take a minute. Go check it out. The backside here. I noticed as I was walking around, it appears they had two staircases running up both sides of the house. And there you can just see the diagonal line there. I'm going to imagine that that was where a staircase was, which would mean that on the other side, directly across from that, was another staircase. So the two staircases directly across from each other on both sides of the house. Interesting. Pretty neat. Would have been nice to see it. But it looked like before burning to the ground. Or, well, I guess it didn't burn to the ground. Again with this burning to the ground nonsense. Pretty neat though. 70 years it stood here. Well, it still stands, right? Pretty neat. Here in Louisa is Trevillian Station, where a cavalry battle was fought. I believe it was a cavalry battle during the Civil War. I don't know a whole lot about it. Kind of a small thing, right? And here's Trevillian House, circa 1846. That is the station, though. I'm glad I came back here. I've always wanted to. I've never done it. It's a beautiful thing. Custer's first last stand. Pretty good sign. Pretty good title for the sign. First last stand. I should have told you while I was standing there at the Barboursville Ruins. And when it comes to Barboursville, when it comes to Route 33 in general, there's a lot of Jefferson and Madison. From Barboursville, Madison is about 20 miles up the road. 20 minutes. Jefferson is maybe 45. So really, Jefferson and Madison's history is kind of weave in and out. And then, of course, Civil War. I mean, it's Virginia. Civil War is everywhere. But interesting that down here in Louisa County at Trevillian Station, that it's Custer. so associated with the West, and there's a lot of places in Virginia where Custer shows up. It's just not something that clicks in my head really well, but you know, whatever. So I was right, it was a cavalry battle. I should have mentioned that back then. But you know, with Custer, kind of goes without saying, right? Custer is cavalry. Anyway, some more recent history here at the Divine Baptist Church on Route 605. There was an earthquake back in 2011, a big one. Hit the messed up the Washington Monument for a good while. They had to close down the Washington Monument and do a bunch of rebuilding. The epicenter was right here, back in 2011. My wife was in Alaska. I was at home. It was my second day of geology class. I was at home with the Harper, who was a baby then, and we were sitting on the couch, and I thought our window unit was falling out of the house. I thought something was going terribly wrong with the window unit, and it was about to fall out of the house. I grabbed Harper, grabbed the dogs, and all of us went out in the backyard. After I realized it was an earthquake. It wasn't the window unit trying to fall out of the house. People started calling Kathy up in Alaska, asking her what the heck is going on. She was like, I have no idea, I'm in Alaska. And then we got hit by an earthquake. A hurricane right after the earthquake. It was crazy. 2011 was a wild year. A wild year. But yeah, right here off of Route 605, which is just off of 33, 2 miles down 33, or down 605 from 33, is the epicenter of the 2011 earthquake. That's some more recent history. Also, what happened at the nuclear power plant at Lake Anna was up here, and it picked up their concrete pad where they store all of the nuclear waste. It picked it up and lifted it. It moved it. Scary, right? Anyway, so that's some more recent history here in Louisa County. Now I'm still in Louisa County. I'm at the Gilboa Christian Church, which I believe was built sometime in the 1840s. 1834. Boom. But that's not the reason why I'm here. The reason why I'm here is because just down there, there's nowhere to pull off on the road other than in somebody's driveway, and I don't want to do that. Is where Cuckoo Tavern was located. This whole area is called Cuckoo, but in that area, the Jouetts had a tavern, the Cuckoo Tavern. And Jack Jouett was there one night. I never learned about this in school, but Jack Jouett. Okay, we'll get to Jack Jouett in just a second, remember. So Benedict Arnold sailed up the James River and took Richmond during the Revolution. The traitor, Benedict Arnold. The traitor. Let's not forget that. So Jack Jouett, Benedict Arnold, sails up the river, lands in Richmond, takes Richmond. Richmond's legislature flees to Charlottesville. And then Bannister Tarleton and his dragoons ride west with one mission: to capture the legislature of Virginia and Thomas Jefferson. And they ride west, and they get to Jack Jouett's Tavern here in Cuckoo. And here, Jack Jouett learns of it and says, oh, hold up here a second. And he rides through the woods in the middle of the night to Monticello. where he warns Thomas Jefferson that Tarleton and these dragoons are coming, and they're coming for him. And Jefferson's like, oh, okay, good, cool, whatever. And Jefferson sends his wife and children to Poplar Forest while he stays. And the way I heard the story told was the dragoons were coming in the front door, and Jefferson ran out the back door. And Jefferson ran over to Carter Mountain and with his telescope and watched as they ransacked the house and went through his stuff and threw his papers all over the place, and all kinds of craziness. And they couldn't find Jefferson because he's over on Carter Mountain eating peaches and apples. While they're trashing Monticello. Tarleton and his men then ride into Charlottesville, where Jouett had also gone to warn the Virginia legislature that the British were coming. And of course, they all leave and head further west to Stanton. It's one of my favorite stories, and I didn't learn about this until I was an adult. I love it, and it's right here in Cuckoo, right along 33. It starts. Yeah, and you can go to downtown Charlottesville, to the area around the courthouse in Charlottesville, and you can see signs about Jack Jouett's ride and him warning people, because his father also owned another tavern in downtown Charlottesville, and he went there, and there were people staying there from the legislature that were staying in Jouett's Inn in Charlottesville. And of course, they all rode away and got away from the British. One more thing about Cuckoo, and you can see the sign, the historic marker, it's down there in the Masonic Lodge's parking lot. While I'm here, I might as well talk about it. This is near here is where the plantation that Henry Box Brown was born on. If you don't know who Henry Box Brown is, he was born into slavery here in Virginia. Right along here, as a matter of fact. The plantation was somewhere here. Not really sure. But his master, owner, I don't know the correct terminology, would hire him out to a tobacco company down in Richmond, and he would work there. And he devised a plan to hide in a box and mail himself to Philadelphia to freedom, and it worked. And he was born right here on 30. Here's a historic marker about Henry Box Brown and how he's born near here at the Hermitage Plantation, and mailed himself to Philadelphia in a 3-foot-long box. Fantastic. Eventually he would move to Great Britain and live there for the rest of his life. Also, just over there on the left, see that little grassy area? That is an old rest stop, or a roadside table. I'm guessing back in the day when you used to travel these old roads prior to the interstates and stuff like that, you would pull off at the roadside table, have yourself a picnic and a little rest, and get back on the road. But we stopped there once before. The tables are kind of rotted, and they just seem to be, there's 3 or 4 picnic tables there that just seem to be sitting and rotting. But it's a cool relic of the past. Yeah, sit and think about how we used to travel. One other thing in Cuckoo that's been getting some attention lately, and deservedly so, is this old African-American schoolhouse. It's a 2-room schoolhouse. There's a lot of work lately to get it on the register, and some preservation funds donated towards it. Pretty cool. I've seen it here forever and always wondered about it, but this is the old Cuckoo School. definitely need some help. I've found a picture of a group of kids standing in front of those windows there. I'll put it in right here so you can see. It's pretty awesome. This place was built about 1925. It caught on fire, and after the fire they stopped using it, but 1925. Here in Montpelier is Sycamore Tavern. This was a stop on the stagecoach route between Richmond and Charlottesville. I've heard that Madison stayed here, and Jefferson stayed here, and even Patrick Henry stayed here, and that makes sense because Patrick Henry lived in Louisa, and we just came from Louisa. He also lived in Scotchtown, which is the opposite direction there. He also lived for a time in Louisa. It's a nice little place. I'll get closer. Nice little old water pump here. Look at the size of this cottonwood. My goodness. It is massive, right? I think they use this as some sort of library, but I'm not entirely sure. I really thought this place was older than 1945. Holy moly, only 1945? Pretty cool for it being 1945. And I think that's going to do it for the day. Again, this is Montpelier, Virginia. Not Montpelier where Madison lives. That's in Orange. But this is Montpelier, Virginia. A tiny little town. And that's going to do it for the day because I'm almost at the end of my journey along 33 east. I'll take 54 on into Ashland. And that's going to do it. So don't forget to like and subscribe and all that other stuff. See you on the next one. See you.